Welcome to another Fast Tips video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. In today's part 6 of the follow-up series, we're going to do a little bit more with moving those follow-ups ahead. One of the best things about being a member on my website or on my YouTube channel is that you get early access to all of my videos that I queue up. So even though today, part 1 just released on YouTube and on my website, I've already gotten a bunch of emails from people that have some ideas. So you're just now seeing part 6, and it's now a week since part 1 was released, but all the members have already seen it. So, haha, another reason to join. Anyways, what they said they wanted to see was, okay, moving ahead the follow-up to tomorrow is nice, but I'd like to be able to click on it a couple times, maybe move it ahead 3 days. And I like to be able to skip weekends. So if today's Friday and I say move ahead a day, I want it to move to Monday. So we're going to do that in this class. Then I sometimes also want to just take all of my follow-ups and move them all ahead to tomorrow. Just move them all to tomorrow. I'm done for the day. I don't want to make any more phone calls and move them all ahead. Okay, not a problem. We can do that too. We're going to do a little more coding today. Not too much. Maybe 4 or 5 lines of code. I'll teach you a couple new functions. Something called an event procedure function, which is really neat. And I'm going to show you how to pop up a little "Are you sure" box. Are you sure you want to move all these follow-ups ahead of day? Are you sure? Okay. Yes, no, cancel. All right, all that's coming up. Now, before we get started with the part 6 stuff, I forgot to mention a few things in part 5. At the end of the lesson, I had some notes. I was going to put some stuff up for you, just a couple links. My email seminar, if you want to learn a lot more about sending email with Access, check out my email seminar. I show you how to send through Outlook, sending attachments, and also sending straight to a mail server like direct to Gmail. That's all covered in my email seminar. I'll put a link to this down below. And if you want to learn how to make something a little more complicated, instead of just sending those little teeny tiny email templates, I do have a letter writer video. This is free. It's a tech help video, and it shows you how to do something a little more complicated, so that you can do things with, we cover like little mail merge codes and stuff like that. So check that out too. Okay, so moving ahead with the lesson material. If we go to our follow-up screen here, we got tomorrow, move ahead a week, and plus a month. And by far, the number one email I got today, even though the video only released earlier today, was I'd like to be able to not only move it to tomorrow, but hit the button a couple times and have it move 1, 2, 3, 4 days, for example. And if that's the case, we'll have to also make a move down button, so you can click a button, click this, say move ahead 2 days, and then go down. So we'll make it work. Let's go into design mode here. Now the logic is going to be, okay, if the follow-up is scheduled before today, we're going to just move it up to today, and then either add a day to it, a week to it, or a month to it. Okay, so if it's something 4 weeks ago, and you want to say, okay, move this ahead a day, it'll move it to today, and then move it ahead 1 day. If you say, okay, move it to ahead a month, it'll move it to today, and then move it up a month. So no matter what, all the stuff in the past will come up to today, and then we'll add dates on it. I don't want to say, okay, if it's 2 months ago and I say add a month, it goes to 1 month ago. That doesn't make sense. All right, so first let's change what our captions on our buttons are. This will be +1D. And then this one's going to be +1W. And then this one's going to be +1M. Now, you can make minus buttons too. Real easy. If you decide you want to go, back a couple days, whatever you want. Let's change these names a little bit. Instead of move tomorrow button, let's go move 1D button. And then move 1W button. And then this one's already move 1M. Let's change it a little bit. Now, I do this intentionally. So I want to bring something to your attention here. When you change these buttons, the code underneath them is now broken. If I save this, and I open it up again, and I push the button, nothing happens. Okay, and this is something that beginning developers don't get. But what happens is, if you go to the code builder, right-click Build Event. Okay, now I'm sitting here in Move 1D button click, but if you look, here's all our old code. See that? That's something that I wish the Access guys would fix in the future. If you rename a control, change any of the VB code that's attached to it. They don't. So I might make a utility to do that. If you guys are interested, let me know, because I do this quite a lot. I rename objects all the time, then I got to go change all the code. All right, but we're going to rewrite this all anyways, so get rid of it all. Goodbye. Okay? And in fact, we're going to get rid of this too. We're not going to actually do this with event procedures in here. We're going to write our own function. Now, if we make this as a function, then we can call it from the button without actually having to make a little private sub in here. Okay, so this is a trick. So I want you to come up to the top here. A couple blank lines. Okay, we're going to say private function move date, and move date's going to take 2 bits of information, a unit as a string. That's going to be like day, week, year, month, quarter. Okay, that's our unit type, whatever you want to call it, and then num units as a long. Now, functions can return values. In this particular case, we're not actually going to return a value. I'm just going to say as variant, doesn't matter. Okay, we're just calling it a function because if it's a function, we can call it directly from the event procedure property. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. This is a little more advanced, but you'll get the hang of it once you see it working. All right, for right now, let's just say if this follow-up is in the past, bring up to today. So we're going to say if follow-up date is less than today's date, then follow-up date equals today's date. That's the first step. Let's see how we can get this to work, though, now. You ready? All right, I'm going to save this. Now, remember, this guy's called move date. All right? I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to select this guy, and under event, on click, I'm going to type in equals move date, open parenthesis, and then our parameters. We're going to make these parameters exactly the same as the other date function. So it's going to be, in quotes, D, comma, 1, just like that. Let me zoom in so you can see it. Move date, D1. I'm sending it a D for days, and then 1. Hit OK. Save it, close it, and then we're going to open it back up again. Okay, now this guy is January 21, so I'm going to click plus 1D. Boom, and look at that. It moved it up to 1 day from today. Today's the 21st of December, so that's correct. All right, that's all I programmed it to do. Click. Okay, now the new thing and the benefit of what I'm showing you here is that since this is a function, I can call it there like that, which means I don't need to make a separate procedure in my code for it. I just call the function. Right? And now I can do the same thing. Copy this. Click on this guy. Right? Get rid of that event procedure. And just paste that in there. And now you could do move ahead 7 days. Or you could do move ahead 1 week. But remember, for weeks, you got to use WW. That's in the date add. Right? Remember date add? Right? I had you watch this a couple lessons ago. Well, down here, here's the format. Okay, 1W is not weeks. It's day of the week. So it's only a day. Same thing with years. Y is day of the year. So you got to use 4 Ys for years. So I'm making mine so it matches date add. All right, except that last parameter is still going to be the date that we're using on the form. All right, so I'm just going to leave this one as D and go 7. Okay, and then for month, we're going to go M and 1. Just like that. All right. 1 day, 7 days, 1 month. Okay. Now, we got to finish our function, though. All right. So come back in here. Now, we're sending into this function the unit, which is day, month, year, whatever, and then the number of units. So now, move ahead the follow-up. Okay. So it's going to be follow-up date equals date add. So that's good to know your date functions. What's the interval? Well, that's the unit, comma. The number is num units, comma. And what's the date? Follow-up date. And yeah, I guess in retrospect, maybe we should name these things the same as in here, but that's okay. Interval. Okay, so save it. Randomly give it a debug compile. Oop, I hit run. Hit the wrong thing. Debug compile. There we go. Flip back over here. And let's see if it's working. It should go ahead 1 day if I click on this guy, right? 1 day, 1 day, 1 day. Look at that. See? All right, 1 week. Okay, those are weeks. It looks like weeks. And let's do months. Okay, there's months. But we're not done. All right, it's pretty cool so far, right? But we're not done. Now we got to avoid weekends. How do we avoid weekends? Well, we could just use the weekday function and see what day of the week follow-up date is now. Right? The weekday function returns a number from 1 to 7, where 1 is Sunday and 7 is Saturday. Okay? So now we'll just put down here, avoid weekends. And we'll say if weekday of follow-up date equals, if it's a 7, then, this is Saturday now, what do we have to do to follow-up date? We got to add Sunday, Monday to it. We got to add 2 to it, right? So follow-up date, I'm just going to copy. I'm sick of typing follow-up date. So I usually rename these to F. I don't want to confuse people, though. Follow-up date equals follow-up date plus 2. Remember, in Access, with our date math, that a day has a value of 1. So if I add 3, I'm adding 3 days. If I add 7, I'm adding a week. If I add 1/24th of a day, that's 1 hour. All right, don't forget your date math. All right, so that's Saturday. All right, we got to handle Sunday, else if weekday of follow-up. Oh, I didn't copy that. I copied the date math link a second ago. Hold on. Let's copy follow-up date back. Copy, paste. All right, if weekday of follow-up date equals 6, then, or excuse me, equals 1, then that's Sunday. And then we're going to say follow-up date equals follow-up date plus 1 to go to Monday. And if. Otherwise, just leave it as it is. Just add 1. Right? Because it adds the 1 up here. We just have to move it ahead more if the resulting day falls on a Saturday or Sunday. And yeah, I know this confuses some people. You're thinking, okay, if this is 7 and I add 2 to it, now it's a 9. That's not how it works. The date value is a number also, but that number keeps going up. Ad infinitum, right? Just keeps going up to the max date, whatever that is. Some 9,999 years from now. Okay? But the weekday function returns a number from 1 to 7. Now, if you only want to be able to hit the button once and then move ahead, you could put that code here to move ahead. The do command, go to control, follow update, and then go to record AC next. But if you want to be able to hit the button multiple times, then we got to make a separate button to do that. But let's test this first. All right, so let's use this guy. I'm going to set it to 12/1. And looking at my calendar, 12/1 falls on a Thursday. Okay, so add a day. Boom. It's going to jump it up to 12/23. So actually, it doesn't matter that it ended up on a Thursday because today is 12/22. And if I add another day, it goes to 12/26, right? Because 24 is a Saturday, 25 is a Sunday. Let's move it ahead a month. All right, 1/26. Oh, 2/27. Now, why did I go to 2/27? Well, let's see. And that's because 2/26, February 26th, 2023 falls on a Sunday. So that part of it's working. Now, if you don't want to keep jumping up and forth between these guys, come down here, go to Design View. We'll make a button. Let's put it next to the requery button. Put that right there. Copy, paste. All right, next. Put you there. And we'll call this the get up next record button. Right click, build event, do command, go to control, follow up date, do command, go to record, comma, AC next, just like we did in the last class. Okay, save that. And now come in here and you can go next. Oh, and I get an error message. What happens? Debug. Can't go to the next record because you're on the last one. Now, there's 2 ways you can handle this. You can either just tell Access to ignore any errors. This is the lazy way. You could say on error, resume next. What does that mean? That means if you encounter an error, just ignore it and just keep doing your thing, right? And if I come up here and I go next, it just stops there. Okay, that's one way to handle it. I try not to use this with more complicated code. For simple things like this, where I know there's 2 lines, and I don't want either one of them throwing up an error message and just ignore it, this is okay. People that tell you never use on error resume next, don't listen to them. All right, but there are better ways to handle most situations. For example, in this case, if you're on the last record and you have your ID here, right, your auto number, even if it's hidden, you could say if that ID is null, then just exit this up. And it won't even bother checking it. But for this, I'm going to leave it. On error resume next is fine for this situation. And it's usually about this point that people start asking me, well, what about holidays? Can I ignore Christmas? Can I ignore, the company picnic day? Yeah, sure. You can. There's all kinds of ways you can do stuff like that. I got a video called Work Days where I show you how to do just that. You can ignore things like Christmas. You can set up a table and ignore custom dates if you want for the company's off days, bank holidays, whatever you want. Go watch this video. All right, one more thing, and that's what if you want to take all of your follow-ups. Let's say you got a bunch of them in here, and let me save this. Let's go into the table, contact table. Let's just set these all to like 12 back. And we'll leave a couple in the future. Let's see. This one's in the future. This one's in the future. Yeah, okay, so that's good. So we got a bunch of them that are in the back, in the past. All right, and I open up a follow-up list, and I'm like, I'm leaving for the day. I've had enough. I just move all these to tomorrow. I want to click one button down here and move them all to tomorrow. Okay? Whenever you think in your brain, I want to move a bunch of records, do something with a bunch of records, your first thought should be query. We're going to use an update query for this. If you've never done an update query before, go watch this video. Stop now and watch this video so you understand update queries. And while you're at it, watch this video on the switch function. The switch is an alternative to the nested ifs. Ifs, right? If you got an if function and it's either true or false or one thing or another, right? If it's two issues, an if function is perfect. But if you start getting 3, 4, 5, 6 items, then that's where the switch function comes in handy. So we're going to use a query, an update query, to move that data ahead. But if the weekday is a Friday, you got to move it ahead 3 days. If it's a Saturday, you got to move it ahead 2 days, right? So that's what we use a switch function for in our update query. So let's build the query first. Close this. Create. Query design. We need our contact table. We're going to bring in, actually, first let's change it to an update query. Now let's set our criteria. The follow-up field has to be yes, and the follow-up date has to be in the past. So the criteria is less than today's date. Let's make it less than or equal to today's date. If anybody's set to today too, we want to move everybody today and back ahead 1 day. Now normally we would set the update to equals date plus 1. That would move every follow-up date that's before today or today to tomorrow. But I don't want just that. I want to move them ahead a day, but taking the weekends into consideration. Okay, so let me zoom in here so I can show you this in a little more detail. We're going to use the switch function. And with this switch function, you can set a parameter and then a value, and then another parameter and then a value, right? It's kind of like doing high school grades, all right? If the grade's over 90, give them an A. If it's over 80, give them a B. And the switch function stops once it finds one that matches the criteria, okay? So we're going to say switch. And then, now remember, our date hasn't moved at all yet. So we're looking at the original date, but I don't care what the original date is, because all of these are going to be moved to tomorrow, meaning the next business day. So we really only care about today's date. I don't care what the original follow-up date is, right? This function is to move everybody to the next workday. So it's going to be, take a look at the weekday of today's date, okay? And if the weekday of today's date equals 6, that's a Friday, then we're going to set this equal to today's date plus 3. All right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay? That's the first condition. And if that's true, we're done. If that's not true, switch moves on to the next one. Okay, very similar. I'm going to copy this. Watch this. Copy this whole thing. Copy. Paste. If weekday of date equals 7, it's a Saturday, move it ahead 2. Okay, all right, I'm getting it. All right, comma. Now for everybody else, I want to move the date ahead just 1. Now pretty much whatever I'm left with is going to move it ahead 1. So you can put any true condition you want here, but I'm just going to say, to keep it easy, I'm going to say weekday of date is going to be, if it's less than 6, which all the rest of them have to be, right? Then set it equal to date plus 1. There's your switch statement. It'd be the same thing if you nested two ifs together, right? If this, then this, otherwise, then this, otherwise, then this. That gets more complicated. I think switches are easier to understand. Okay. Save this guy. And we're going to save this as followup update all queue. Okay, don't run it yet. Don't run it. We're going to run it from code. All right. Go back to your follow-up form. Right-click, design view. Let's copy paste and make another button down here. We'll call this plus 1D all, like that. A little bit bigger. Make our next button a little bit bigger. Give this guy a name. Move 1D all button. Now for this guy, we will need an event. So build event. Whoops. What did you do there? Oh, okay. That's interesting. That's interesting that came up there, right? I right-clicked and I went build event. Now, since we had an expression, when you copy a button, right, that expression copied with the button, which is kind of handy, but I don't want it there. And that's why the expression builder came up. Okay, so just get rid of it. And now I should be able to right-click build event. And there we go. Okay. See, these little tiny things kind of sometimes creep in. And that's why I leave them in the video, because if they pop into the video on me, chances are you're going to see it too. Okay, I didn't plan for that. Now, in here to run that update query, we could say do command.open query, and the name of it is followup update all queue, and then a little me.requery after it's done, because it's going to requery in the background, and then we need to refresh the form, right? Reload the records, and basically it'll show nothing. All right, now before we do that, we want to ask the user, are you sure? And to use an are you sure prompt, we're going to use a message box. Here's a whole video on just doing the are you sure prompt message box. So I'm going to show it to you right now in a couple seconds. But I go through some more detail in this video. So if you want to learn more, go watch this. All right, this is going to be if message box, in quotes, are you sure, comma, what buttons do you want? I like VB, yes, no, cancel. It gives you a yes button, a no button, and a cancel button. Why not just yes or no? Well, I find that if people don't know what's going on, they're likely to hit cancel. So I like to give the cancel option as the don't do anything option. Right? People get a prompt and they sometimes don't want to stop and think about it. And they go, they get a brain fart. And they, okay, I'll just cancel. Just don't do anything. All right, so I always like to give them the yes, no, and cancel option. Okay, comma, title if you want to, right? Move all tomorrow, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, now, that's going to return a value. It's going to be VB yes, VB no, VB cancel. These are the three options. So I'm going to say if that returns any variable other than VB yes, then exit sub. Okay? Prompt the user with the message box. That's going to return what they click on. If it's not VB yes, exit the sub and don't do this stuff. Okay? Save it. And yes, people, I know I'm moving along quickly. These are fast tips. And I'm pointing you to other videos where I explain this stuff in more detail. So if you're a little lost, go watch those other videos first. I think I'm going to rebrand Fast Tips. That's what Fast Tips mean. I'm going to move fast. I'll give you links to my other videos where I move slower. That's what I hereby christen Fast Tips. That's what Fast Tips means. Rick moves fast. All right, let's see if it works. Now, today is a Thursday. So these should all move to tomorrow. Follow-ups. And move all one day. Are you sure? Yeah, go ahead. Boop, gone. Now, if I click my all button. Okay, there we go. You see all the ones that were set for yesterday are now moved to tomorrow, Friday, the 23rd. Now, in order to test it with the weekends, I'd have to change my system clock, which I'm not going to do because it's going to mess up a bunch of other stuff. But trust me, that switch function does work. I've used it in a bunch of other places. All right, so that's pretty much it for part 6. Like I said, I did get a bunch of emails already today. Some people wanted me to do things that I've already done in other videos that I don't think I'm going to cover again in this series. Here are some examples. A couple people wanted to see a pop-up shoot up when the database opens if you have follow-ups that you haven't gotten to and they're more than a day old. I cover that in this one, a reminder pop-up date. And a few people asked about this. If you just type in, 1/1 and for January 1st and it's already December, it defaults to January of the year you're in. But if it's a follow-up, you want it to always be in the future. So that's what this video covers. So today, for example, is December 22nd. If I type in 1/5, I don't want January 5th, 2022. I want January 5th, 2023. And I covered that in this video. But yeah, that's all I got for right about now for part 6. Got a couple other ideas, maybe do a part 7. So shoot your ideas down below in the comments. Let me know what you think, what you want to see, what features you want to see me add to this little thing. And what other series would you like me to do? I've already gotten a couple people that said, yeah, I love this short form format where you do a bunch of parts to a different kind of database. What kind of database would you like to see me build? I'm all up to you guys. So post it down below. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free, and click on the bell icon to select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Make sure you click the Show More link down below the video to find additional resources and links. You'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted, so if you'd like to get an email every time I post a video, click on the link to join my mailing list. Even if you don't want to become a member, feel free to donate to my tip jar. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got puppies to feed. How do you become a member? Click on the Join button below the video. After you click the Join button, you'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks. Silver members and up will get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class each month, and more. Gold members get access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus my code vault, where I keep tons of different functions that I use. You'll also get a higher priority if you decide to submit any tech help questions to me, and you'll get one free expert class each month after you finish the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks, plus even higher priority for tech help questions, access to all of my full beginner courses for every subject, and one free developer class each month after you finish the expert classes. These are the full-length courses found on my website, not just for access too. I also teach Word, Excel, Visual Basic, and lots more. You can now become a Diamond sponsor and have your name or company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown in each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. But don't worry, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more and they'll always be free. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access. It's over 4 hours long, and I just updated it for 2021. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below that you can click on. And also, if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. Yep, that's all, $1, and it's free for all members of my YouTube channel at any level, even supporters. Want to have your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page on my website. You can send me your question there. While you're on my site, feel free to stop by the Access Forum. Lots of good conversations happening there. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Once again, my name is Richard Ross. Thank you for watching this Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something today. I'll see you again soon.